Hello and welcome to Paisa Gyan. This is the first episode of this channel and we begin our journey by discussing about insurance. If you live in India, chances are quite high that at least once in your life so far, you have come across an insurance agent who is trying to sell you an insurance policy. Or perhaps you have been seeing a lot of insurance promotional emails in your inbox. Generally in India, people purchase automobile insurance alongside purchase of their cars or bikes. People also purchase insurance for their flat, and if you are a shop owner, maybe you too have an insurance. But then when it comes to health and life insurance, the story is quite different. Despite its importance, people do not seem to procure these insurance that easily. While insurance companies may want us to believe that it is so because people do not know about insurance in India that much, but I think that the Indian consumers are quite smart and very cautious when it comes to spending their money. And there are several reasons why the consumer do not wish to buy a health or life insurance policy. Let's look into some of these reasons. In regards to health insurance, some people are quite confident about their current health situation and feel that they will never in their lifetime require to go to hospital for any major issues. So that's a reason why people do not buy a health insurance. Now, in order to procure any kind of insurance policy, one needs to pay an annual premium. Some people say that suppose nothing happens to me and I have a health insurance. So that means that the premium that I have paid to the insurance company is like a complete wastage of money for me. Some people also view it as a financial burden that they are putting upon themselves. Many decision makers say that the human mind is a complex process, but many feel that the amount of documentation one is required to furnish to the insurance companies to submit their claim is even more complicated than the human brain. Also, with so many insurance frauds happening everywhere around us, plus the insurance companies having a record of denying claim settlements, many people in general have a distrust towards these insurance companies, at least when it comes to health insurance policies. Now let's talk about life insurance policies. People do not purchase life insurance policies in India because, no one wants to believe that I'm gonna die and leave my family. So if people are usually healthy, they say that, I don't need a life insurance policy because I will be there for my family, At times, people do not purchase life insurance from an external company because they work in a company where their employer provides them with such benefits and they think that the cover is enough for them and their family. The third reason is that people sometimes think, I am too young for a life insurance policy, I just don't want to think about death right now. And the fourth reason for not buying a life insurance policy is that, there are so many different types of life insurance policy categories out there. Which one do I take for myself? In order to be appealing to the target market, life insurance policy oftentimes bundles itself with other things like investment, mutual funds, etc. Many of these different kind of things often tend to confuse the people and then they just simply say, give it a pass. I don't want a life insurance policy. And finally, just like health insurance policies, there are several fraud cases happening even in life insurance sector, which too dampens the trust of people on life insurance companies and these policies. After all, who would want a situation where they have been paying premiums to the insurance company out of their hard-earned money only to feel devastated and cheated by these insurance companies? That too when they need them the most. This brings us to the core part of today's video. Who needs an insurance policy? This video will help you understand, do you at all need to have a life insurance policy for you? Today we will focus on just the life insurance part. We will leave the health insurance for subsequent videos and also we will cover other types of insurance too. So do not forget to subscribe to this channel and also hit the notification icon so that you get to be notified when I put up new videos. Also, let's put up a target for likes in this video. If this video reaches a target of 1000 plus likes, then I'm gonna bring up case studies of different insurance companies operating in India. So now let's focus on this video's main objective to answer you, do you at all need a life insurance policy for yourself? Let's find out. Suppose you're still in school or college and somebody approaches you to buy a life insurance policy. Politely decline their offer. Since you are having no income, you also do not need a life insurance policy. In this case of yours, you must remember that since you are dependent on someone else, like it can be your legal guardian or your parents, for example, it is them who will need the life insurance and not you. So in case you do not know about whether your parents have a life insurance or not, you can actually go and ask them, and if they feel like, they can reach out to the agent. But you yourself do not need any kind of life insurance, and please do not accept to buy any kind of policies, no matter how hard the agent tries to convince you or no matter how lucrative they show the offer to you. If you do so, it may turn out to be a complete wastage of money, at least for your case. Now suppose you are in school or college, but alongside you are also the sole breadwinner in your family. In that case, you may take a life insurance policy. However, in India, the minimum age for taking a life insurance policy is 18 and above. So, if somebody tries to manipulate you into believing that you can take it before that, please do not trust them, as then they can give you a fake policy document. This way, you will end up in trouble later on. Now, let's say that you are financially independent but also completely single without any financial dependence on you. Mark this word, you do not have any financial dependence, okay? That is, your parents, your brothers, sisters, everybody in your family is financially independent on their own. In this case too, you may not purchase a life insurance policy. Since the main objective of having a life insurance is to provide a monetary support to your family in the event that you are gone, so that your family do not feel itself in financial burden situation. In your case, since nobody is going to be impacted by your finances, you may not purchase a life insurance policy. Now let's say that you are a senior citizen, that is 60 years and above, and you have a pension income which is almost enough to meet all your expenses. In this case also, you do not need a life insurance policy, no matter how hard the insurance agent or anybody tries to sell you. But what if you are a senior citizen and you do not have a pension income? Well, if you yourself are dependent for monetary support on your son or daughter or anybody else for that matter, you also do not need a life insurance policy. Or let's say you are in a situation where you are a senior citizen and you may not have a pension income, but you are still making some money from some sources and nobody is dependent on you. Even in this case, you do not need to buy a life insurance policy mandatorily. Now let's say that you are a senior citizen. You may or may not have a pensionable income, but you are definitely having some source of income and you are supporting somebody, let's say for example your grandchild, who is financially dependent on you. In this particular case, should you find yourself a life insurance policy? The short answer is yes, you should look for a life insurance policy. However, from my own experience, I can say that in your particular case, be very careful about the premium that you are asked to pay, because chances are quite high that you may be asked to pay much higher premium since you are at a senior age. And even your options might be quite fewer, because usually after the age of 60 to 65, insurance companies in India do not wish to sell life insurance policies to consumers. So to summarize, you do not need a life insurance policy if you are dependent on someone else for your financial support. Like for example, you are a homemaker or you are still in school or college and do not have a job for yourself. You also may not procure a life insurance policy for yourself if you are financially independent with no financial dependence on you. If you are a senior citizen with sufficient pension income, in this case also you may not procure a life insurance policy. Also, if you are a senior citizen with absolutely no source of income and you are dependent on someone else, then in this case you do not need a life insurance policy. However, if you are a senior citizen with some source of income and there is somebody dependent on you, in this case you may need a life insurance policy. Otherwise, it is not necessary for you. So now that we already know about all the categories of people who do not need a life insurance for themselves, let's talk about who needs life insurance for themselves. After this video, you will be able to determine for yourself, do you need a life insurance policy? So let's start. Are you someone who is having dependence on you, that is financial dependence on you, like you have a wife who is a homemaker, or maybe you have children, or you have your elderly parents? In this case, the short answer is yes. If you are the primary breadwinner in your family, you do need a life insurance policy. Now, what if your spouse is also a working member? In this case, ascertain that who is paying the major share of the household expenses. If your income goes towards meeting the major expenses of your household, then in this case, make sure that you have a life insurance policy. If you are somebody who is planning to get married and start a family, in this case, a life insurance policy becomes quite advisable for you. Especially if you are planning to buy a house by taking a loan right after you start your family, then in this case, a life insurance policy for you is quite recommended because you have to pay the EMIs, and today if something happens to you, then your family would be quite burdened with all the EMIs of the loan. Here, a life insurance policy can be a huge lifesaver for your family. However, remember this. If you get married and do not plan to have children in future, and your concept of family is restricted to just you and your spouse is doing quite well financially, in that case you may not buy a life insurance policy. Even in the case of paying for the EMIs of the flat, if your spouse, that is your husband or the wife, will not be bothered too much by the EMIs and will not feel like a financial burden for that even in your absence, in that case also you can skip getting a life insurance policy for yourself. Are you a business owner who hires other people and you are worried that what would happen to them in case something happens to me? What would happen to them if I may not live tomorrow? In that case, it is quite advisable for you to get a life insurance policy for yourself. Make sure that in this case you put your employees as the beneficiary. This brings us to the end of today's video, and by now I guess you have a very clear idea of whether you need a life insurance policy or not. But that brings us to the second part of the question. Which policy is best for me? And which company should I purchase it from, and where do I find my best policy? We have a lot to cover, and we will cover everything in upcoming videos, so stay tuned. And do not forget to like this video and hit the subscription button and the notification bell so that every time I put up new videos, the bell rings and you know about it. So I will see you in my next video. Till then, stay tuned, stay safe. Thanks for watching.